Hello.
Hello there, Ron.
Hi, George. How are you doing?
I'm Mike, actually. George is
Hi,
down
Mike.
here in this blank one. Well, he's managing it, I'm assuming, so. And I see he just switched you over to, there's George.
Sorry, I had to put my headphones on.
Hello.
Hi there.
You are co-host.
I'm sitting in a chair and I think George is too. Are we going to not be doing that?
Is anybody else coming?
Yes. Oh, there's one.
I may not, I don't know if I should do this anyway. I bruised my ribs the other week.
Oh,
Ice skating.
I'm not sure
so-
I'm not sure it will matter.
Okay, it was a little weird last week. It's better now, but it hurt to like fill my lungs up all the way before.
Okay.
Like I hit them right here, so it was kind of a weird
Interesting.
spot. Yeah.
You can give it a try, and if it hurts, don't worry about it. Just do what you can.
Okay.
Most of it is actually going to be developing our breath down in our body. We're not going to be filling up our lungs as much. We're going to feel like we're filling up our belly.
Excellent. I know a thing or two about this deep breathing. I've actually done some animation about it for people with depression and anxiety. So
Oh, wonderful.
something they talk about a lot when people are having panic attacks and things like that.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Great.
yeah, there should be 9 people joining. Alicia, I see, is here. But again, it's not 6 o'clock yet. So you'll let us know what we need to be doing, like if we're going to get rid of chairs and whatever, once we get everyone together.
Yeah, so the chairs are fine. That's actually what we talked about, was everybody would be doing it in chairs. So I don't expect anybody to be on the floor. If people want to know how to set up their cushions, I can totally talk about that. So that'll be something I ask everyone. And but mostly I'm expecting that we're sitting in chairs. We'll be sitting part of the time, we'll be standing part of the time, mostly sitting.
Actually, you've probably been doing this for the last 2 years this way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
because you're not getting together at the dojo and
Yeah, we haven't been able to. Just trying to clear up my background there.
well, is that the void behind you?
It's an Enso.
Which is?
Oh, it's a very traditional symbol for Zen practice. And it represents the void as well as substance or mind. It can be, there's different meanings of it. Yeah, some of it is in drawing this. The amount of penetration that is in the ink into the paper is really important. The space that you see is just as important as the actual ink that is making the circle. Hello.
Hello.
We're going to get started in just a few minutes. Do we want to wait for everybody to come and then get started, or do we want to just start on time?
I'd probably wait for a few more people if we can.
Yeah, that is totally fine with me.
Right back.
We're waiting for a few more people, Linda. We'll have to see if you can meditate with headphones on, Linda.
Okay. Should I take them off?
I have no idea, so it doesn't.
I'll do my best. There's
Ron
ambient.
says we'll know, and he'll advise us.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Hi, Linda. I'm Ron.
Hi, Ron. Should I take them off?
No, I'm going to ask, will you be able to stand with them on?
Let's see. Yes,
Perfect.
That's because she's
That'll-
not that tall.
I'm really short.
Okay, perfect. We're going to do a little bit of sitting, a little bit of standing. And so as long as you've got that mobility, you're good.
Good, thanks. Hmm.
I can use some relaxing meditation today.
Oh, yeah, you and me both, honey.
I booked a flight that I'm going on tomorrow, and
Ooh,
the agent place I booked it with canceled it like 3 months ago and didn't tell me.
oh,
gee.
man.
And it took like 4 hours a day to figure that out.
Is this to another country or just to
No,
another
it's
state?
just San Francisco, but I thought I had a flight booked tomorrow, and apparently I did not.
Oh, Lord.
So now I get to pay a whole lot more to go to the same flight I had already.
Oh, that sucks.
And
Terrible.
I had to tell people, that, I had to tell people to fix it all day.
Kitty.
Hey, it's all the kitties.
All the kitties.
Yeah, I think that's great. We should definitely have all the cats in the during the meditation. It'll help relax us.
They're meditative.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
So soft. So soft, sweet. Yes. There she goes.
Linda, is your Vaunt joining us?
I don't think he is able to join us. I think
And
I
then-
signed up 5 times because I couldn't find the link, but unfortunately, he is not able to join us.
Okay. And Caitlin, is Kathleen coming? You're on mute.
Yeah, she's here, but she's eating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then I just texted Cindy. And if your Vaunt's not, then we're only missing Kathleen and Cindy and your Vaunt, so we can probably get started because they'll come in as they can.
Okay. Yeah, I have no problem waiting a little longer.
Okay, so my mom is considered here. I'm on her link.
Okay, so and she can hear us at least?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, she's in the back.
Okay. Then I think we're fine to start.
right.
Ron. Oh,
Oh, there's
actually,
Cindy.
there's Cindy. So now we really are
Cindy,
fine to start.
Okay.
All right.
Did you want to do a welcome, Linda?
Welcome.
She's our president.
Thanks.
We are ready to learn how to relax and get deeper meaning out of our breathing and all kinds of things that I don't yet know what they are, but I'm so thrilled that Ron is here. Thank you, Ron.
All right, well, thank you. Glad to be here. Yeah, I'd like to get some deeper meaning out of things I don't understand too. So that'll be on our list for today. All right, so this is an introduction to meditation, to Zen meditation specifically. And some of the words that we used to talk about what we were going to do today were relaxation and energy and breath, stress and anxiety, mental clarity. We even said something like well-grounded awareness. So what are all these things and why do we even care? So that's a kind of a great question. That's kind of a great question. But before we get into that, I wanted to tell you that my name is Ron Shereyk, and I definitely welcome questions. So if you have any questions during what we're doing today, please ask. There'll even be times when I ask you questions and it'll spark more things. We're going to do some exercises today. So at some point, we're going to be standing and experiencing our breath in a very specific way, but it's not very strenuous. So you don't have to worry about, clearing the furniture away or anything. And most of the time we're going to be sitting. And I just wanted you to know that. I have been instructing at the Japanese Culture Center for maybe 20 years, something like that. And meditation is one of the big things that I teach. I also do something called integral body work, and meditation is a huge part of integral body work. Integral body work is a process of going deeper through the route of the body with physical work. And this is for people who've got challenges with their physical body. It's also for people who want to learn how to meditate. It's actually ideal to help you develop the physical body that's necessary or that maybe comes with time when you meditate. Let's put it that way. And some of those changes are sped up by the process of integral body work. So for me, they go together. I've been practicing Aikido for over 25 years. And there's a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today that come into Aikido as well. So that's part of my background. And I wanted to check in with all of you to see why you wanted to come for and learn about meditation. What are the reasons why you're here today? And we'll just go around real quick, if that's all right with everybody. If you can chime in and let us know why you're here. So I see Carolyn, you're one of the first on my screen there, if you wouldn't mind.
I've also muted everybody, so turn yourself back on.
Oh, now thanks. All right, there you go. Oh, just to learn a little bit about it.
Great.
Yeah.
Have you tried it before?
A little.
Okay. Great. What would make you want to learn more about meditation, having tried it before? I realize you're totally putting you on the spot. Sometimes meditation is difficult, and that's why I put it that way. It's a little bit of a challenge. Sometimes we try it and it doesn't seem to produce the results that we might have wanted, or we find out that it's a harder practice than we might have thought. Hopefully today we can answer some of your questions about meditation and get some clarity about how to start your own practice.
Okay.
Great. Anything more to add?
No,
Okay, thank you very much. I have Alicia.
she's there twice.
I'm there. Yeah, I'm here twice. I don't know why. Technical difficulties. One of me is on mute. And I do meditate. And I've actually been meditating more during COVID because there's opportunity to meditate. And I feel like before COVID, I was trying to squeeze it in during my day. But now it's like an integral part of my day. And I also use it to inspire my writing when I feel like I'm not in the right place to write. And then I mentally go, oh yeah, maybe if I just spend 15 minutes meditating, I can get back into that mindset. So I'm here to learn more. And I was really excited what you said about what it might invoke in your body. And I'm excited to deepen my practice. So I'm really kind of enthusiastic about learning more and enthusiastic about the Creative Health and Wholeness series, which this is all part of, so important right now. So that's me, Alicia Dale, and that's what I'm
Great.
interested in. Thank
That's
you.
awesome. Great, I appreciate it. We're definitely going to talk about that today. So please feel free to ask questions directly about those things, and we'll even get into more detail at the time when it comes up. Let's see, who else? We have Linda.
We have Linda. I like the word practice because it's kind of a new word to me. I take a yoga class every Sunday virtually now, but what the woman who teaches it lives in the building where I live, so it's, you know, it's very low key, and I always am struck with at the end of, she says, and that concludes the practice at the end of the session. And I it's, you know, I'm a newbie to yoga, but I remember feeling midway through maybe last year, like, oh, wow, like there's an internal life in my body that I didn't know about. Like these molecules talk to each other and they can do stuff that I don't need them to do all by themselves. So I want to learn more about that. I think meditation might be another pathway in to that playground of internal molecules. Does that make
Wonderful.
sense?
Yeah, that's great. That's
So
huge.
I want to know what the practice means in the world of meditation.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I definitely want to talk about that. Great, thank you.
Sure.
Cindy,
Hello.
hi.
Hi. I guess I have always thought it would be interesting to practice. I don't really do that. The times that I've tried meditating, I kind of put myself to sleep.
Yeah.
Because I relax so much, and I use it actually intentionally if I'm awake at night, like in the middle of the night and my brain starts going, and I actually do focus on my breathing and try and block out everything else in my head. And that puts me back to sleep, which may be part of the problem of when I'm trying to do it in the daytime, that it makes me sleepy. But I would just like to be able to help me. It might help me focus during the day and just, you know, be more well-rounded, I guess.
Yeah, wonderful. That's a great problem that a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And that's a great reason to want to learn more. So I appreciate it. Good, thanks. We have Brent.
Actually, I'm the Fred Flintstone of the group here, Ron, because I am somebody who hates massages or anything that has to do with body work, and just have been that way for most of my life because it's something that I can fall asleep on a dime. But I am here is in the role of official writer of our newsletter, and so most of what I'm going to do tonight is be taking notes on everything that is going on. So my video will be going on and off here and there because most of what I'm doing is going to be is frantic note taking. But
Okay.
you know, when all is done and said and done, I hope we'll have a good article on what's happening tonight.
Okay, great. That's a great reason to be here too.
Okay.
Thank you, Brent.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
And we have Kaylin.
Hello. So for me, I do have past experience with meditating on and off. A lot more in high school and theater class, and there were definitely times when we all fell asleep. But recently I've sort of pushed it, I guess you could say, in the back burner of it all. Yeah, so I guess I'm just here to maybe learn more and maybe like advice of how to like continue it and not push it back.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, this is a typical problem too, right? Somebody else mentioned, how do we find the time? How do we make it part of our daily lives and you know, not get eclipsed by everything else that's going on? Great, thank you. Mike.
Yes. So I
Yeah, anything you have?
I tried meditating probably informally around 45 or so years ago for the first time. I was never very good at it and never could stick with it, but I do like the idea of being able to maybe be calmed and also be feeling centered as just part of a way to bring that into my existence.
Wonderful. Great. That's great. It's a great reason. Appreciate it. George, anything?
You know, I was thinking when you started asking, I'm notorious for not being able to sit still.
Yeah.
And I've got some new business stuff going on that I'm like absolutely vibrating right now. Like I have so much energy. I'm like shaking all day long. It's just how I am. So you know,
Yeah.
I could probably use to, you know, slow my mind and body down a little bit.
Yeah, great. That's a great reason. So your energy is a good, positive energy right now, but sometimes we deal with a lot of anxiety too. And so we're going to deal with just handling our energy, and that's a great reason. Thanks. Yeah, all great reasons. I'm glad you all are here to learn more about it. We're going to talk specifically about Zen meditation. There's all kinds of different types of meditation. But what we're going to practice is a basic version of meditation, and then talk about how to go further. And we're going to do some basic breath work, and we're going to see how that ties in to our meditation practice. Maybe it's best to start with this idea of what is meditation? What are we trying to do? It's not thinking. It's not our standard physical activity where we're running around and doing things. It's not intellectual activity where we're thinking of things and solving problems and coming up with answers and making lists. But it involves being with ourselves. All of those other things might involve being with ourselves as well, our daily work, our relationships. But this is being with ourselves in the moment. And you probably heard that referred to a lot, which is try to be more in the moment. Sounds like fun, sounds good, sounds like we want to do that. But how do we even manage it? It's hard. So as George said, he's vibrating with energy. So his mind is all over the place, and he's thinking of all kinds of wonderful things, but sometimes hard to control it. So if you've ever noticed that your mind is hard to control, we're going to talk about that. Our mind is so hard to control that it's going to come up with all kinds of things to distract us, especially when we try to sit down and be quiet. So if anybody's had any trouble with meditation before and their mind wouldn't shut off, you can raise your hand or smile and laugh, because that happens to everybody, right? Still happens for me as well. But when you're working with your mind, we're going to actually try to find a way to sneak up on it. So we're going to address two other things that are going to help us with relaxing our mind. We're going to talk about our body, and we're going to talk about our breath. And those two things are going to give us an inroad to the mind that we haven't had before. So if you're paying attention to your mind, it's constantly occupied by thinking, constantly thinking about stuff. If it doesn't have something to think about, it will make something up, right? So I don't know how many of you have woken up in the morning with a song in your head, or this song keeps coming into your mind all throughout the day. Well, what happens when there's no song? You go looking for one, right? You go look, oh, wait, I could think of another song. Make one up if you had to. And this is what our mind does. But this is not because you're doing anything wrong with it. This is what the mind is for. It's for thinking. It's for solving problems. It's always on. We wouldn't want our minds if they didn't do that. That would allow us to have a job and to do stuff in the world. But what we would like to do is get a little more control over the thoughts. I don't know if any of you have had the problem of when you've got something personal going on in your life, oh, then the thoughts are just constant. Circular thinking about the same problem, trying to solve it, trying to reiterate everything that happened, trying to relive the past to make it change, and not getting any traction. So I don't know if any of you have experienced that circular thinking of going over and over and over the same thing. Meditation can help with these things. We got to realize that our mind is always on. So meditation helps point that out to us, unfortunately, kind of painfully. But we're going to try a little fun practice right now. Go ahead and stop thinking. Stop thinking for as long as you possibly can. As soon as you have a thought, go ahead and raise your hand. Thinking about not thinking is still thinking. Some of you are pretty successful at not thinking, so good job. If you've managed it, that's great. But mostly it comes pretty quick. We're going to think about something we have to do. We're going to think about we're hungry, we're uncomfortable. We're going to want to move our body. We're going to want to, do something to fill up the space. But this is what our mind does, like we were saying. You could look at the mind as, maybe this is a good metaphor for it. And I'll ask it as a question. What's the difference between the clouds and the sky? Well, the clouds are in the sky, but you can't say that the clouds are the sky, right? They move past and they're going through with the weather system or whatever. They might take a lot of time or they might go pretty quick, but we can relate this to our own experience, right? So we can see this as the clouds being our thoughts and the sky being our mind. And the clouds are just moving across the sky constantly, all day long. If you wanted to, you could watch one go all the way out of your vision. Or you could center your vision and watch one after another pass you by. When we meditate, we're going to do the centering our vision. We're going to watch each thought as it comes up, and we're going to let it pass us by. Maybe another way of saying it would be to let go of that thought. Anybody know how to let go? No, I don't know how to let go either. But how about this? Maybe we won't identify with the thought so closely. We'll notice that we're having the thought. We'll notice that we're thinking about it, and then we'll go back to our basic practice. What's the basic practice? Well, we're going to get into that. So we're going to identify our thoughts as they come through. And it's perfectly fine if they come rapid fire or if they start to come slowly. Neither one of them means anything. It's just your thoughts. It's just the content of your mind. And maybe that's the problem that we've had, is that we've been confusing our mind with the content of the mind. So our mind is what can think, what can do things, what can solve problems. But our thoughts are just what's occurring to us in the moment. And oftentimes we get centered on our thoughts and think that the thoughts are us. So by not identifying with the thoughts, we take a step back and we can watch them pass by us one by one. We're going to go even further than that. We're going to say, and this is maybe interesting, so tell me how you feel about this question or this statement. Your thoughts don't mean anything. That might sound kind of insulting, right? Because we all want to have good thoughts and we all want to think important things and accomplish things and be known for our abilities. But look at what the content of your mind is. Sometimes it's you focusing and being able to solve problems. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's other things. Sometimes they're just fine. Sometimes it's a distraction. Sometimes the thoughts are things we feel are not worthy of us. And if we're identifying with all of this, then all of that is us. But really, it's just passing by. And if we can start to realize that, meditation gets a little easier because we can be with our thoughts a little more comfortably. So what we're going to talk about now is the way to work with our thoughts is to kind of sneak up on them. I said that earlier. We're going to focus on our body and our breath and allow the thoughts to come as they will, identifying each one and just letting it go or not identifying with it whenever it comes up. So go ahead and get comfortable in your chair. And we're just going to have you feel your body. Pay attention to your posture. See if you can feel your sit bones on your cushion that you're sitting on. Go ahead and come upright through your spine, all the way up through the top of your head. Draw your chin back over your body so that it's parallel to the ground. And just feel your body. Go ahead and let your body sway back and forth, nice and gently, side to side or front to back. And then just let it slowly settle down until it naturally comes to a stopping point. So this is probably the most comfortable position for you right now. With that swaying, what we've done is allowed our bodies to come into alignment with the field of gravity. Go ahead and become aware of your breath. Take a breath in and out. And see where in your body the breath seems to center. Is it your chest and shoulders? Sometimes you might feel it in your neck. Is it your belly or your abdomen, your solar plexus? We're going to see if we can bring our breath all the way down in our body. So we're going to inhale and fill up our belly. Push it out if it doesn't do that by itself. And then we're going to exhale. And just let it come out naturally. We're going to do something with the exhale next. We're going to inhale and fill up our belly. Exhale. And just let it come out naturally. Go ahead and check back in with your body and see if just those 2 inhales have changed anything about how your body feels. You might feel more relaxed already. You might even notice that the thoughts aren't coming as quickly. Inhale and exhale. And we're going to start working on our exhale. When you exhale, think of, instead of breathing out through your mouth, that the breath on your exhale is pushed down into your belly. So think about breathing down into your own belly. Inhale and exhale and push the breath down. Inhale and exhale and push the breath down. When you push the breath down, notice what's happening in your belly. You can take both of your hands and put them on your belly. We're going to inhale and exhale and feel like you're actually physically pushing the breath down into your belly. Go ahead and raise your hand if you notice that the belly pushes out. It's okay if it doesn't. This takes practice. This is where the practice part comes in. We're going to inhale and exhale and push our breath down. And go ahead and firm up your belly as you push your breath down, like it's actually firming as it presses out. Inhale and exhale and push down into your belly. And you don't have to strain, but just a little light push. Inhale and exhale. And push down. So now we want to add something. We're going to add to this, opening our eyes and spreading our vision out 180 degrees. So you can take your hands and put them next to or outstretched on either side of you. And you can wiggle your fingers. Can you see your fingers through your peripheral vision? If you can't, just fold a little bit. So that's your 180 degree vision. We're going to try to maintain that. Every time your focus shifts from 180 degree vision, you can go ahead and just notice it and bring your awareness back to your 180 degree vision. Don't worry if it goes away and you focus on something. We're going to inhale and exhale, pushing the breath down, opening up our vision. Inhale and exhale, opening up the vision. And now we're going to start to lengthen the exhale. So you don't have to even pay attention to your inhale anymore, but just notice that on the exhale, it takes a little longer than the inhale. Inhale and lengthening the exhale, spreading out your vision, pushing the breath down. It may already be happening that your breath on the exhale is longer than your inhale because we're taking the effort of pushing that breath down. Inhale and exhale. So we tried making the breath a little longer. Let's try to make it as long as comfortable for you. And don't feel bad if you have to take extra breaths. That's totally fine. Inhale and exhale, and take a really long time to exhale. You don't have to run out of breath, but just feel like you're prolonging it. What did you have to do inside your body to make that breath longer? You might start noticing there's some friction inside your esophagus, right? You can actually feel like a little hiss going on inside your body. So think of it like the valve on a balloon, right? If the valve is totally open, all the air just comes rushing out of control and making all kinds of noise. But if you tighten it just a little bit, then it comes out with a certain sound that it'll sustain, and the air comes out a lot more slowly. That's what we're doing inside of our body. So you might feel that restriction of your esophagus as the valve, and you'll feel a little friction of the air passing through the restriction. Inhale and exhale, lengthening the exhale, pushing the breath down into the body, into the belly. We're going to do 3 more breaths this way. If you feel your breath coming up into your shoulders and your lungs all the way up here, we're just going to try to expand and contract the belly only. Inhale and exhale. Pushing the breath down. And 2 more breaths on your own. Okay, great. So go ahead and check in with how you feel. What do you notice about how you feel right now? Physically, emotionally, and mentally. So you might notice you feel more relaxed in your body. Although the posture we're keeping may have slipped a little, that's okay. You may feel, in addition to that relaxation of your body, you might feel like your thoughts are a little more relaxed. like they're not coming as rapid fire. It might still be there. You might still have to bring your attention back to what we're doing, but it might be just a little bit more spread out. Pay attention to your emotions. What are you noticing with your emotions? Does anybody feel like they're pleasant, relaxed, comfortable at the moment? Does anybody notice that they're more agitated? Yeah, more agitated. Can you tell us about that, Linda? What's going on with that? How does that feel?
A lot of layers of things. I'm hungry. I'm frustrated. I'm afraid.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. That was honest. That's really what we feel like. So you're noticing what you really feel like.
Yes.
And it takes a little courage to be able to meditate because you're going to see what's inside. It's not always easy.
Or pretty.
Or pretty, for sure. Right. We'd love it to be, oh, I'm such a wonderful person, but sometimes we don't feel that. Sometimes we have some really negative thoughts. But even the negative thoughts, we can learn to work with. If we just see them like the clouds in the sky, then not one of those clouds really means anything at the moment. We can just watch it go by. Because what happens after one cloud goes by?
Another one comes.
Another one comes. And then another one. And then another one. It's actually to the point of like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? So you're gonna laugh at yourself because it's sort of silly. And we let ourselves get really upset over some specific thoughts that we choose. We've chosen those thoughts to get upset about. And it's not to say that they're not upsetting, right? It might be something you have to actually go deal with. If the house is on fire, you certainly have to go put it out. But how much can we let go of the things that we're thinking, that we're identifying with in the moment? The circular thinking can really become noticeable. So if you're noticing that there was fear coming up for you, that can be a regular thing, and it might be pervasive in a lot of the things that you do, or it might be just a temporary one-time thing that happens to be coming up right now. But learning how to work with our thoughts through the route of the body is a way for us to take a step back and realize that we're not the content of our minds. And identifying with the content of our minds kind of restricts our area of operation, our identity, those kinds of things. But what about our body? We identify with our body a lot too. This right now looks like me. It's solid and I can feel that. This is what I call me. But how much of my body am I really in charge of? Not that much. As Linda mentioned earlier, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on by itself, right? And thank God, because if you had to think of all that stuff, like right now I'm digesting, I'm fighting disease, I'm circulating, I'm respirating, and I could think maybe there's a bunch of other ones. I couldn't keep track of all that stuff. I'd never be able to get anything done during the day if I had to think about all that. And then to your point about any kind of practice or physical activity, have you ever noticed that when you first started doing your yoga, it was really hard to do the stuff? Your body didn't really do it. So what I'm pointing out here is that our bodies are not as much under our control as we think they are. We just think this is us. But we're all healthy and happy and here right now. What would it be like if we were a 2-year-old? Does that make it any less us? What if we were a 97-year-old? Your body is certainly different. Does that make it less you? Something about the body has changed, but you really haven't. Well, maybe. We can only hope we can change. But what I'm trying to point out is that the mind is not really under our control, and neither is the body. So when you meditate, you start to recognize this stuff. And then all the layers of the things that you've been thinking and the things that have been happening in your body start to come up. So you're going to feel physical discomfort. I mean, all the way up into pain. You're going to feel all kinds of thoughts, all kinds of emotions. And those things are going to be noticeable and difficult to deal with, because maybe we don't spend a lot of time dealing with them on a daily basis. But mind is easier to work with when we focus on the breath and the posture. So you notice that in our practice today, we focused on getting the breath down in the body. Did anybody have a hard time getting the breath down in the body? That idea of pushing your breath down into your belly. Was that difficult? You can raise your hand if it was difficult.
Yeah, I had a hard time figure out what that meant for a while.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Doesn't even make sense at first. Oh, are we freezing up a little bit? Okay, good. Glad you can all hear me. Yeah, so it's difficult. And what does that mean to you? Anybody want to volunteer what that means? Getting the breath down in the body. How did that happen for you?
I had to relax more and not push
Oh,
like I thought I
can't
had
hear
to
you,
push.
Cindy. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Go ahead.
I said I had to relax more and not push down like I thought I was supposed to, but just relax and just sort of let it be and let it go, and it would fall down.
Wonderful.
Does that make any
That's
sense?
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. So my instructions were to actually push it down. Most of the time, you have to do that to even get to feel it at all. But yours is really what we want to do in the end, which is just relax and let it come down on its own. And with some practice, that can happen. So this is back to practice. Another word for practice, and this might be to Linda's points earlier, is training. Now, we've all heard of weight training, right? So we can go in the gym and we can lift a bunch of weights and maybe we'll be stronger. But the kind of training that I'm talking about is more of what Linda was mentioning in terms of practice. Like I have a daily practice or I have daily training. And that is to do some exercises that will help me have the physical and emotional and mental state that I want more often. And that might even bleed over into my daily life. We could even go so far as to say that if we're doing it and it's only in class, maybe it isn't really worth much. We would really like to have it be in our daily life all the time. So we just keep practicing. And one of the teachers that I had used to say, or still says, practice without hope, which is hard to deal with. But the idea there is you're not necessarily going to get something directly and immediately out of doing something every single day. But the cumulative effect over time is going to be significant and it's going to be noticeable. So this idea of being able to get your breath down, being able to relax more completely, being able to let the thoughts slow down, this can actually happen over time. You might notice it immediately, but there's going to be days where you're fighting it. And that's okay. That's okay. Even on the most difficult days, that's when your training is the best. That's really what real life is like. Because when you have somebody in a heated conversation with you, either a significant other or a coworker or a manager or something, that's when your practice really gets tested. So this is why we're practicing. This is why we're training. Good. So what we did so far was identify body and breath and mind and how they're involved in meditation and how we can use them to get into a meditative state. What I want to tell you is, even if your mind is all over the place, even if your body isn't really that comfortable, if you're aligning your body in the field of gravity and you're paying attention to your breath, you're meditating. So that answers our question from earlier of what is meditation. You're paying attention to what's happening with you, and all kinds of things are going to come up, physical, emotional, and mental. But we always go back to our breath and our posture. Anytime a thought comes up or anytime physical sensation comes up, go ahead and go back to your breath and posture. What's the value of being aligned in the field of gravity? Well, it should be the most comfortable physical position for people. Sometimes it's not. And the reasons why it might not be is because your physical body has changed in structure. Spend a whole lifetime looking at a computer screen and your head is kind of forward, right? It takes a little effort to bring it back over your body. But if we can line up in the field of gravity, this is the most conducive physical position for expanded consciousness. Not to say that lying down you couldn't meditate. Of course you can. Other positions you can meditate. When you're doing yoga, you're moving while you're meditating. But this lined up in the field of gravity posture is known and has been known for thousands of years as the most effective posture. They actually call it the noble posture. And it's not because you look noble, it's because it's so important. And that's what we did a little bit of here today. If you're regularly meditating on a cushion, this is a whole other process. So today we're just in chairs, and this is great. We're going to spend a moment to get ourselves comfortable in a chair in a more effective way. So if everybody can come forward on their chair so that your sit bones are kind of at the edge of the chair, not exactly right off the edge, but like cut up close to where the edge of the front is. Then we're going to have our pelvis as neutral as we can. We don't want to tip it too far forward, and we don't want to let it slouch backwards. You can imagine someone coming up behind you with their palm of their hand and lightly pressing your sacrum. What would happen to your body when they did that? It would elevate. You get a little lift. Then we're going to let our shoulders relax as much as they can. Here's a hand position that we recommend because it works. But if you do a one from yoga, you can make a little mudra and you can put your hands on your legs. That is totally fine as long as your shoulders are relaxed. But this is the one we use in Zen. We have a fist, and then we take our other hand and wrap it around the fist, almost like it's another fist just wrapped around the other one. And then we lightly place the thumb in the opening. Sometimes, you could start like this with the thumb all the way in the opening and then wrap it around like this. And then I'm going to have my hands presented in this orientation where the opening of the fist is coming out into the camera. My thumb is placed there. My knuckles are facing straight up. We're going to put this in our lap and let it be, let it rest in our lap. There's other instructions that you might get if you were practicing Zen on a regular basis, but this is a basic version of it. And what it can do is, if you take your forearms and press them onto your thighs, you can see that your shoulders depress. And this is the most relaxed we can get in the shoulders, or at least partially relaxed. They'll relax more over time. And then we have that lift through the spine. Imagine this idea. Gravity is pulling us down into the ground. So there's the force of gravity. Well, how come we're not going through the ground? The floor or the chair is pushing back up on us. So what we want to do with our body is line up these two forces. And when we line up the two forces, down and up, we're much more comfortable in our body. Did you ever see a jewelry box with a ballerina? She's got a pin right through the top of her head that goes all the way down through the bottom of the jewelry box. That's what we're going to kind of feel like with this pin right down the top. But really what we're noticing is that our shoulders are down, and yet we're lifted up through the top of the head. You can think of and you may have heard this before, you can think of your spine as a string of pearls. Relaxed, but lifted. There's a separation between each of the pearls. Nothing is compressed in an uncomfortable way. Good. So everybody looks great. This is our basic posture. And whether we're sitting on a chair or on a cushion, we're going to actually wind up with the same thing. To make it work better in a chair, we're going to place our feet flat on the ground if they're not already. What you should have is 90-degree bend in your hips, 90-degree bend in your knees, and 90-degree bend in your ankles. If any of that can't happen because of how high your chair is versus the floor, don't worry about it. You can get a cushion, either a towel or a blanket that's kind of dense with a little bit of lift to it, and either put those under your feet or put them under your pelvis so that you can make the height change and you can get the angles in your joints to be 90 degrees. That's the most comfortable for us, or should be the most comfortable for us. We want to have our chin level to the ground and pulled back over our body. If you think about that ballerina with the pin through the top of the head, our body needs to be lined up and our head needs to be over our body so that that pin can come straight down through the top of our head and intersect our spine in more than one place, because our spine is naturally curved. We don't want to have a totally upright, overly stretched out spine. We want to have it in its natural upright posture with the natural curvature. So why do we spend so much time talking about posture? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about breath, and then we're going to realize that those two things are the things that we can constantly keep track of. So when you're meditating, if you're paying attention to your breath and your posture, and you're maintaining them, that's a different idea than setting it and forgetting it. With every breath, we're going to come back into alignment with the field of gravity. Imagine yourself like a tall tree that's swaying in the wind. Imagine yourself like a big building, a skyscraper, swaying in the wind. It's constantly reorienting itself in the field of gravity. So that's what we're going to feel like. That's why we had ourselves swaying at the beginning, front to back and side to side, just to let ourselves settle in the field of gravity. And what we're going to do with our breath from then is inhale and fill up our belly. Exhale and push the breath down. Some of you noticed that the belly stayed firm when you exhaled. This is not what we would normally think about our inhale and exhale. When you think about inhale, you think about your belly pushing out. When you think about exhale, you think about it pushing back in. What we're going to have, if we're pushing our breath down on the inhale, is that our belly stays firmly pushed out. So let's try it again. Aligning in the field of gravity. Inhale and exhale and push the breath down. And see if your belly stays firm. It might even push out more. Anybody having a hard time with that? Good. Good. We're going to do another exercise that's going to help us develop this even more. So just pay attention to how you feel right now. How does your body feel on the cushion or on the chair that you're on? How does it feel in this natural upright curvature lined up in the field of gravity? How does your breath feel filling up your belly as you exhale? We're going to do a standing exercise, and we're going to have a way to accentuate this feeling. All right, so nice and slow. We're going to stand up. If you were on your cushion, you'd take it really easy because we've been sitting for a while. But you've been in your chair for a while too. So nice and slow, you can stand up. I'm going to change the orientation on my camera so you can see my whole body. All right, so what you can't see are my feet, but I'm going to tuck in my hakama here, and you'll be able to see that. So I want to have my feet facing straight forward, relatively close together. So to start with, just go ahead and feel your feet on the floor. If you have shoes on, go ahead and take them off. And if you have socks, you can take those off too, but the socks aren't so much of a problem. You can leave them on if you like. We're going to inhale and exhale. And we're going to come up into that alignment that we talked about, where our head is back over our body. And you might notice mine come forward. If I look at the camera, my head comes forward. So I'm going to try to have my head back. We're going to inhale and exhale. And we're going to feel our feet on the floor. Go ahead and connect into the floor. Really feel it. If you have a wood floor, see if you can feel the grains of the wood underneath your feet. If you have a carpeted floor, go ahead and see if you can feel the differences in the threads underneath your feet. We're going to inhale and exhale. And we're going to shift our weight just a little bit forward so that you feel the weight coming down through the balls of your feet, primarily your big toes. And we're going to inhale and exhale. And we're going to start adding pieces to this. So inhale, exhale, and we're going to anchor into the ground through the big toes. This might cause you to lean forward a little bit. That's what we want. Inhale and exhale, anchor into the ground through the big toes and lean forward. I'm going to show you what it looks like from the side. Inhale and exhale and anchor into the ground through the big toes and lean forward. When you lean forward, you might notice that your pelvis comes forward and your knees bend slightly. It's really just a soft bend in the knees, not too excessive. But you want to actually lean forward. So you're pushing your pelvis in that direction. Inhale and exhale, anchoring into the ground through the big toes, tucking the pelvis forward. And when I say tucking the pelvis, you can actually think of your tailbone as slightly coming underneath you, just a little bit. Inhale, exhale, anchor into the ground through the big toes, tucking the pelvis. So that's the physical mechanics. But now we're going to pay attention to the breath. So we're going to inhale and fill up our belly. Exhale, push the breath down into the belly. Lean forward, anchor into the ground, and tuck our pelvis. As you tuck your pelvis, you might notice that you can become more aware of the pressure of pushing your breath down. Inhale, exhale, anchor into the ground through the big toes, tuck your pelvis, bringing the breath down. Inhale and exhale, anchor into the ground through the big toes, tuck your pelvis, and bring your breath down. Inhale and exhale, anchor into the ground, bringing the breath down. Good, we're going to do one more. Inhale and exhale, tucking the pelvis, leaning forward, anchoring into the ground through the big toes. Good. So go ahead and get whatever posture you want standing. Go ahead and check in with yourself and see how you feel right now. This might feel a little different than we felt as we were sitting. Does anybody notice anything? So maybe we'll get somebody to tell us if they feel different. Anybody who wants to volunteer, you can just unmute yourself and say whatever you want.
Sort of more tingly.
Oh, okay, great. Where are you more tingly? Is it everywhere or is it just in one specific spot?
Shoulders and arms and mostly.
Yeah, wonderful. So this is your body relaxing. And you can notice it occasionally by that tingling feeling. Sometimes you'll get that in your legs. Sometimes it'll even be more pronounced. So that's great. Thank you. Anybody else notice anything physically?
You know, I get that sensation a lot when I'm sitting where your muscles just kind of feel like they've got lead in them, like they're just sort of blah. And you know, your skin feels weird when you're doing, you know, even sitting on the couch for a long time. It feels like my muscles are more activated. Like I'm not like pumped up, but it feels like they're more useful right now.
Yeah, okay, so a little more alive right now.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Anybody else notice anything? Sometimes you might notice that you feel more relaxed. That connection to the ground is not something that we pay attention to all the time. When was the last time you thought about the connection of your feet on the ground? As a matter of fact, we wear shoes all the time. Our buildings have 57 stories and we're not even close to touching the ground. We're just on a floor that's made out of concrete. So what you might be noticing now is just feeling a little bit more relaxed, like your breathing can slow down. What about your thinking? It might have slowed down a little bit. It might just feel a little more relaxed in the mind. When we can slow down our breathing and we can relax the body, our mind will follow. That's why we're focusing so much on the posture and on the breath. So we're going to add something to this right now. So if it wasn't noticeable before, we're going to see if this can help us. So same posture, We're gonna have our feet relatively close together. We're gonna anchor into the ground through the big toes and do everything else the same, except I'm gonna show you from the side. We're gonna add in our palms. We're gonna have our palms about hip level. So your arms can be mostly straight. Just below your hips is where your palms will be. And we're gonna inhale and exhale. And when we exhale, we're gonna push down and lean in, anchor into the ground through the big toes, tuck the pelvis. And see if the pushing down can help us tuck our pelvis and feel the breath coming down into the belly more clearly. Inhale, exhale, push down, anchor into the ground through the big toes. See if you can feel that breath coming down. Inhale. And you can straighten out as you inhale. We don't want to come up here and get a breath. We still want the breath to be down here, but you can straighten your legs. Then exhale, anchor into the ground through the big toes, pushing down, tucking the pelvis. Inhale. And exhale, push on your hands downward, tuck your pelvis, and bring the breath all the way into the belly. Inhale, and exhale. Tuck your pelvis, push your hands down, bring the breath all the way down into the belly. We're going to try this 4 more times on your own. Remember to lengthen the exhale if you can. When we're done, go ahead and check out how you feel. What do you notice right now? Is it more relaxed than before? You might be more aware of your feet on the floor, or that your weight in your belly seems to be down in your body.
I think I'm actually more tight
Yeah,
and
where are you
less
more tight?
relaxed.
In the leg.
Knowing that my posture sucks, so making me be good posture, my
Yeah.
body says no.
Is it your legs that are tighter, or your glutes, or your upper body?
Toes. I have an elbow issue, so that is aggravating that. The hands up, but
That's okay. This takes time, and this is why we call it practice, because we're going to notice all of these things. And if we keep doing it, you might notice that you will be able to work with those physical areas that are difficult. But in general, you should feel a little more relaxed. We're just taking longer breaths, and we're paying attention to our body, which is not something we normally do.
I feel heavier lower.
Heavier lower, great. Your legs might feel heavy, your feet might really be connected to the ground, you might feel like you got a big weight here in your belly. This is a more natural way of breathing. When we breathe up here, your lungs are up here, we want to fill them up. But if we take a breath from down here, what can happen is our diaphragm can drop. And when our diaphragm drops, we increase the volume of our rib cage. This draws the air in from below, as opposed to forcing the muscles up here to do all the work. We're going to be doing most of the work from down below. It's a much more relaxed way of breathing. As a matter of fact, here's a great question. What do you notice about a person who's breathing up here? They might seem like they're agitated. I'm going to demonstrate. Tell me what you notice. How many of you are wishing I would stop? Almost everybody, right? It's uncomfortable to even hear me do that. Because I sound like I'm in alarm. I sound like I'm having a problem. And unfortunately, if we're breathing from up here, we have ourselves in a state of mild alarm. So when we bring the breath down here, we can be much more relaxed. Let's all come back to our chairs. Oh, I want to tell you before we go on to the next piece here, that we had our hands facing downward and we were pressing down. You can have your hands facing up and act as if you're pressing up on something. That might help you, might feel different for your pelvis, tipping. So one of those will generally work better for each person than the other one. And some people vary. If it's a little confusing to do it with nothing to press on, you can do it at home on your kitchen table or on your desk. Just put your hands underneath the desk and press up. You can put your hands on top of the desk and press down. And see if it helps you actuate your pelvis a little bit, tipping it forward and leaning in. Good, so let's check in with how we feel. So if you feel more relaxed, if you feel like your mind is slowed down a little bit, this is a direct result of changing the breath in our body and connecting to the ground. This is what we call being grounded. How many times have you ever heard before somebody say, that person's not grounded, or we need to develop more groundedness? Groundedness is actually a physical thing. It's not just a mental idea. So when somebody tells you you need to be more grounded, it isn't just about thinking yourself into relaxation. It's a physical feeling. And you can repeat this physical feeling anytime you want. Now you can do this practice right before you go into a big meeting, right before you're about to have a conversation with somebody that is really important, or that you're afraid that maybe you won't be able to communicate what you really feel. You can relax and get a few breaths and drop down in your body. And this will help be more grounded. When you're more grounded, you're going to be more clear. You're going to be more relaxed and less anxious, less prone to not communicating well, or maybe getting upset. So now, paying attention to how we're feeling, we're going to go back to that posture that we developed in our chairs. We're going to come forward on the chair. We're going to arrange our pelvis so that it's mostly neutral. We're going to imagine somebody pushing us from the back in the sacrum with their hands. So we come upright. We're going to pull our head back over our body, keeping our chin level to the ground. We're going to add another piece. You can take the tip of your tongue and put it right behind your teeth on the roof of your mouth. Doesn't have to be the whole tongue, just the tip. You're going to make your ankles and knees and hips as nearly as possible, 90-degree angles. And we're going to inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale and push the breath down in the body. Instead of pushing, we're just going to keep track of the breath. So we're going to do a new exercise. This exercise, we're going to imagine that we're counting on every exhale. So inhale and exhale, we'll count to number 1. Inhale and exhale, we'll count to number 2. That alone might help you relax, just to count a number. It helps you keep track of what you're doing. It helps show you if your mind is thinking. Anytime we lose track of our count, we're just going to start over. We're going to count from 1 to 10, and we're going to start over anyway. So when we start over, it'll just be a way to refocus. Inhale and exhale, count our number 1, and see if we can lengthen that number 1 by lengthening our exhale. Inhale and exhale. How long can that get? So here's our exercise. When you're thinking of the number in your mind, imagine the number encased in an elevator car. And this elevator is going to start right here at your head. And you're going to exhale. And as you exhale, the elevator car is going to descend into your body for the entire length of the exhale. How low can you get the elevator car to go? We're going to inhale and exhale, counting our number, imagining it in the elevator car, descending into our body. Inhale and exhale. Let it descend down into the body. We're going to do this 5 more times on our own. So you might be close to finished. Did that help anybody, or was it confusing as an exercise?
The visualization of the elevator thing helped me actually a lot.
Wonderful. Linda says so too. Don't worry if it was confusing. Sometimes this really helps people. That's why we use it. Sometimes it's just an added thing and it doesn't really have the effect, and that's okay. You don't have to use it. But it's just a way to get in touch with your breath more clearly so you can see that it can come down in your body. We described it as pushing, but Cindy, the way that you described it as relaxing and allowing it to come down is even more apt of a description. After doing our standing, oh, go ahead, Mike.
The tip of the tongue. It seems like that means that I'm not exhaling through my mouth, which
Correct.
it feel less relaxing and more and harder to do for me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so it can take a little practice, and you may have, there could be all kinds of reasons why it might be that way for you. Yeah, that was a good thing. Sometimes people have restrictions in their nasal passages. Sometimes people have other breathing problems. And your physical situation right now will change as you practice. So it could be any of those things. And we would explore that more fully. But obviously in a class like this, we just kind of touch on it. I want to touch on everybody's problems because these are really common things that people deal with. And without having any kind of information about it, it seems like it could be discouraging and a reason to not practice because it just isn't working. But with a little bit of adjustment. Sometimes we can work on different ways to accomplish the same thing. So this is a great time to ask two last questions. The standing exercise. After we did that and you came back to sitting, did it make any difference about how you felt in your body?
I think my upper body was looser because I found when I did the breathing after standing up, I actually had to hold myself from going this way because everything in here was a little more like flowy than it was
That's great.
before. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, so we want to get to the point where our bodies are as relaxed as they can possibly be in our meditative posture. This takes a lot of practice. But what you're noticing is you relax so much that your body wasn't holding as much as it usually does. And then it kind of felt like, oh, it was cut free of the moorings, right? And it gets a little bit shaky. This is okay. It's actually part of the practice and should happen for people over the course of their practice, where their bodies suddenly realize that they don't have to hold on so much. Imagine what that does for your mind. If your body doesn't have to hold on. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, when I was getting massages a lot, they always told me like I had a really hard time just like putting my arm down all the way. You know, it's like I'm not used to like actually letting my muscles not be tight all the time.
Yeah, this is just going through life in this way. We think this is how we're supposed to handle our bodies. And then when you do a practice like this, you realize how much you can relax and how much you are holding tension on a daily basis. And we're all holding that tension. It's building up over our entire life, and there's ways for us to release some of it. But when you're getting good, strong practice and you're doing additional things like getting massage or getting body work, then it can help alleviate the tensions that have developed in your body. It can help bring you back into a more aligned posture, and then it's more natural for your meditation. Does anybody have any questions or observations that they want to bring up right now? Anything I didn't cover that would help your practice? Any way that you could, anything that you could ask?
I don't have any questions. It was more of like I found out that like I like the sitting a lot better than the standing.
Yeah.
Because of I noticed with the standing, because I have double jointed knees.
Yes.
So my knees were always getting in the way and always wanting to lock backwards. And so grounding myself came a little bit more, I'm not gonna say harder, but more like mentally conscious that, okay, like I need to keep my knees like steady. So that's why I personally like the sitting a lot better. And then I also, even in the past when I've meditated, I always feel lighter in my hands, in just my hands. And yeah.
And so are you noticing that now?
Yes, not as much as I was in the midst
At the
of,
beginning?
but it's still relatively there.
Yeah. So are you feeling lighter and more open in the hands, or is it feeling different than that?
I would describe it, it's a combination of sort of open and also where personally my energy goes to is the hands. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So this could be a way for people to release some of their energy when you're getting good energy flow in your body. That may be one way to feel it.
Yeah.
I was also asking that question to see if you were feeling the opposite. Sometimes, and it's not abnormal to feel this way, your hands might start to feel like they get tingly or numb. They might start to feel like the joints want to lock up a little bit. Not lock up, but they get a little stiffer. Maybe that's a better way to put it. So that can be an effect too. So sometimes people will have that. But these are all possibilities for what can happen while you meditate or do other practices. But thanks for that.
Yeah, I've
Anybody-
enjoyed
Oh.
meditating. So thank you so much.
Yeah, good. I hope you enjoyed it. Does anybody else have
I have
any
a question.
questions? Yeah.
We're doing this with your voice in our heads, which I
Yeah.
find good and able to focus because I'm listening to you, but focusing on my body and my breathing. So are you supposed to do it by yourself in the quiet? Or I haven't, a couple of apps that are like meditation apps where that voice will be in my head so that I can focus better and not let the voices in my head take over.
Yeah.
What is the recommendation there?
It can be really helpful for you to be guided during the meditation. That's why I did it today, but I also did it for instructional purposes because it was useful to have us doing the practice at the same time as learning it. And it was helpful that way. But when we do Zen meditation is more of silent meditation in your posture. So you'll be doing all of those things that I mentioned. And eventually you won't even have to keep track of them. But at the beginning, it's kind of a lot to keep track of. But it's a more pure form of meditation without the guidance. So one of the things that we do at the Japanese Culture Center is have regular meditation classes. And we have classes that vary in terms of how they're structured. So some of the classes are just pure meditation, where all we do is sit for the whole length of the class. And it can seem like a lot. You might start with just a few minutes of meditation on your own and build up over time. So it sounds daunting, but actually it's quite easy, and we make it accessible for everybody. So even if you have to stand up or stretch or do something, we'll make sure that that's part of what we're doing that day. But we have other classes that involve regular instruction and development of this breathing that we added in here today to help our practice move along a little more quickly. And anyway, those are the things that I would say about that. Practicing silently is a very powerful form of meditation. But you might be getting something out of the guided meditation, and I would continue to do whatever feels good for you and try to start working on the silent meditation, even for just 5 minutes. And when your body gets uncomfortable and when your mind gets uncomfortable and starts thinking a lot, just sit for another minute like that, another minute in discomfort. And if you can sit in discomfort, you'll be slowly stretching the time that you can comfortably sit physically and mentally. So hopefully that helped. Obviously,
Yeah,
there's more
that's helpful.
here and more practice that we can do. So I definitely did want to allow any more questions. I noticed that we're right at our time here, so we may need to cut off. Is that true, Mike?
We should be wrapping things up. I do have a question about, do you have, if I send you participants' emails, do you have materials that you can send out about the classes and links to?
Yeah, that would be what I would love to do.
Yes.
I can tell you more about the body work that I do and what the values of it are. I can tell you more about the meditation classes that we have and what the content is of those classes. We have a class that's actually much like this one, where we get together and do various practices, including sitting, including the breathing. And then we talk about what the problems are, what we're noticing. We talk about how to advance our practice and add more things from there. So yes, that would be great, Mike. I would love to do that.
Okay, thank you.
If everybody wants to receive an email from me, it'll be just information. And if you don't, that's just fine too.
I think everyone will be fine with it.
Great.
And Carolyn looked like she had a Were you raising your hand? Oh. No.
Anybody else have any questions before we let go here?
Actually, I did have one about the breathing low. Is it?
Yeah.
It seems like breathing low would be good all the time.
Yes.
So, for instance, do you always breathe low just in your normal life?
Yeah. So it's become a normal thing. I find my body just doing it naturally. And when it's not happening, it's really noticeable because I'll be more agitated. It'll happen in situations where it's really emotional or really hectic, and it is noticeable. But I've been practicing for a long time. I notice that there's pressure in my belly almost all the time. So you can actually see my belly sticking out a little bit in this picture. It's because I'm doing it on purpose. And normally what we see in the media is like some idea that we're supposed to have our belly sucked in all the time. This is really not natural. It's not comfortable. It will definitely not allow your breath to fully come down in your body. And as I did more practice, including my inner body work practice, which opens up your belly considerably, then this became more accessible. Yeah, great question. Thank you. Does anybody have anything else? Great. Well, I really appreciate everybody being here. I hope that this does something for your meditation practice. And if you have any questions about your meditation practice, I will send you an email with my information, but feel free to email me. Tell me what your experience is. Tell me how you're using the practices or what your questions are, because the stuff isn't that easy and it requires, some repetition before you can start, sometimes before you start noticing the changes. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Can you not cut connection for this so I can check with Ron on something as we all say goodbye?
Bye.
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 Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ron,
Yes,
a question. Do you have a PayPal account?
I have, I do have a PayPal account. I can send that to you.
Or just send me the email you have associated with it. 'Cause
Yeah,
that it'd be an easy way to send you the honorarium then.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, and I will email you at the address I have with the emails of the participants too.
Wonderful.
Okay, and I think everyone, it was really very interesting, and it was amazing how much of a difference you could learn in this short time over video compared to when I tried to do this years ago and it felt like I couldn't understand what was going on. Or
Sure.
what was supposed to be going on in my body. Whereas this seemed like, oh, I could get that.
Yeah, good. I'm happy because that's what it's for. I know everybody has problems. I used to have the same problems. So finding ways to make it work can help people.
Yeah, this was good. And George, we were going to talk about if we could maybe just do a couple of short clips from this as opposed to showing everything online.
Yeah. I'll get it from YouTube and cut up into little bits because half of it's probably us all like this.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
it's going to be weird for other people to watch.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll focus
yes, I
on
prefer
elements.
if it was just a few little chunks. That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll do like a 2-minute video or something out of it.
Yeah.
Great.
And then George will show it to you too. So,
Yeah.
Wonderful.
okay. Well, thank you again very much.
Indeed.
Thank you both. I really appreciate it. Thanks for putting this together.
No, thank you for doing it. Take care.
Take care.